The web's democratic in one way and distinctly undemocratic in another way.
Regardless of whether you think, social technology and the internet is good or bad, it is.
I would argue that were it not for the internet, Barack Obama would not be president.
No, I think what got Obama elected was the perfect storm of calamities.
In America, it's a federal offense, she's saying it's a federal offense to read somebody else's mail. And that's what makes this country great. That kind of privacy is what gives you rights as a citizen.
I think that people are only beginning to understand what it might mean to post things about yourself in a public forum that then might be looked at by people that you work with or might be looked at by people that might employ you in the future.
I think right from the beginning there are kind of two competing views about the web playing out, which still play out now. One is that the web is this home for collaboration, for sharing, for allowing information to be free, for people being able to create things together in open platforms and sharing ideas. And that's embedded in the kind of geek hippie culture of the Homebrew Computer Club right at the start of all this in the 1970s. And then there's another, which is the kind of Bill Gates, Microsoft corporate view, which is, wait a minute, how do you pay the mortgage?
I think a lot of the confusion about the political ramifications have to do with that one word having so many meanings. So it's democratic in that it quite literally delivers power to the people. It essentially opens up participation in the public sphere. Anyone who wants to participate, has at least the means to participate, is a huge change.
Every single time we go online, every time we look at a website, every time we send an email message, every time we make a phone call with our mobile telephones, we're exposing ourselves, we're stripping ourselves naked to the view of anybody who is interested to find out what we're doing. And governments in the Western world, indeed in the world at large, are anxious to keep a record of who people are talking to, what kind of information they're finding out, so that they can detect patterns of, that suggest crime or terrorism in the offing. And in all these ways, therefore, we expose ourselves to view through the use of these devices.
It is so much easier now to collect so much more information about what people do, what they read, what they see, what they buy, that in the hands of a government that has no respect for civil liberties, if you can imagine the sort of post-9/11 world run amok, there's an enormous threat that it would be used to silence political opposition and political opponents and enforce a kind of authoritarian regime. That's the scenario I worry about.
It represents the fusion of the old military-industrial complex of Southern California and the hippie ethic of Northern California. Both were, in a sense, opposed to authority.
In a way, there's a kind of self-surveillance that I think that young people don't think about in political terms. But it is a political issue. People put their lives on the screen. They put really intimate details of their lives out there, and with very little thought that there might be people using that information in ways that are not benign.
But I don't think that the internet has contributed to the democratization of the political campaign. I think it's made the political campaign perhaps more imbalanced than it's ever been before.
The great question is whether or not the web has been a force for democratization, whether it has made us all equal. There are those who will say the moment it became monetized, is this terrible word, the moment it became really commercialized, the moment the large corporations that control the pipelines started to buy each other up and you started to get these huge mergers, that somehow the pioneering spirit went out of it and the freedom died.
When you grow up expecting to be able to find information at a moment's notice, what does it do to your ability to internalize information?
I think the web will really take on the contours of what culture has always been. There'll be hierarchies, there'll be elites, because we live in a democratic, vigorous society. There will be many doors open to people. Democracy, the democratic vitality will still rule American culture. but there will be the same restrictions, the same exclusive niches that there have always been.